Contradiction.
Contradiction जिसका आप क्वेश्चन क्या रहता
To suicide.
I wonder sir why you thought
It doesn't matter, but the point I was making was that there is no contradiction in my mind at all. I'm 86 years old, and you, if you are sadder and wiser by my utterance, please be. When Allama Iqbal said that Marx was not a prophet, but he had a message and a book. Nish Paighambar walekin dar bagal darat kitab. A book is a message, and the message makes him al kitab. And how can you deny, if you read history, that Marx fought the money power of London, as the Prophet of Islam, may peace be upon him, fought the money power of Mecca, and he was persecuted and thrown out of Mecca? How can you deny it was because he wanted to emancipate the poor? The central message of Islam, of equality and brotherhood. How you have subverted it. How all the clerkdom has subverted. Nobody talks of it. And when Krishna Iyer, a judge of the Supreme Court, tells Manmohan Singh, do you have the courage to say like Nehru today, I am a socialist? He doesn't. Russian Putin doesn't talk of the poor people. American Bush, the ass, doesn't talk of the poor people. Though for housetops they have been saying for years, capitalism can solve the problem of poverty. Communism can solve the problem of poverty. No more. China doesn't talk of that. And India, following these three rascals, forgetting Gandhi and Nehru, wants to go onto the gravy train of larger cars. Faster cars, larger hotels. Let me describe to you what George says about the rising ruling class, not only of India but of Kashmir. Large hotels and even larger hotels. Fast cars and yet faster cars. Hot baths and yet hotter baths. Lap dogs kept by ever fatter and more vulgar women. Golf played by ever fatter and more vulgar men. Cocktails and culture. Sensual poetry and sensational sport. These are the values of the illiterate governing classes of England. C.M. Joad, 1938. A second-hand America, a second-hand Britain. The upper middle class going the wrong way. The genius of India, of Gandhi and Nehru, was to create the Industrial Revolution, to go ahead, but while carrying the poor along. Two, not to do lot of necrology, large houses, faster cars. In Kashmir, where there are no roads, accidents. It is a comic opera in which you see the new rich, opera. You know the new rich? You understand what the new rich is? The present age in India is characterized by the rise of the new middle class. It has to be a vulgar, it has to be a crude, it has to be an acquisitive class. By hook or by crook, tell, build, swing, he must have money. And that is the source of all corruption. And no matter what you do for education, you cannot succeed until you hearken people back to the beauty of the 94th surah of the Holy Quran. Is it the 93rd or 94th? Some Muslim can correct me. But it doesn't matter. But this is the surah of surahs. The greatest Quranic interpreter in Egypt, a woman, Bint al-Shati, writes against Imam Fakhruddin Razi. Just consider this for a moment. The Prophet is losing his sense of confidence. The revelations are not coming. He's in crisis. He thinks God is angry with him. At that time, after those few weeks, comes this ayat. And this ayat is, उनको दिन की रोशनी और रात की तारीकी की कसम है. God swears by the light of the day and the night that I have forgotten you. And not forgotten. Have you forgotten that you were a wayward boy in need and I succored you? that you were an orphan and I protected you, that you were looking for the straight rod and the cave Hira, I got you. So arise and proclaim that world of the poor and the orphan and the oppressed has to be changed. But do you know what Fakhruddin Razi did? Having read Marx and Aristotle and Greek philosophy in Baghdad, he wrote 300 pages on the first 2 lines. मुझको दिन की रोशनी और रात की तारीकी कसम है. तो क्या निकलता? Forgetting the main thing, which is arise and proclaim that Islam is the religion of the oppressed and their emancipation is our message. And this is what Gandhi said. Gandhi, you paraphrasing the Prophet of Islam. No Muslim has been able to tell me in this hall or any hall what has been the motto of the Prophet of Islam. Such hypocrites are we. His motto, Al-Fakr Fakhri, my poverty is my pride. My poverty is my pride. And when a riyakar like Agha Ashraf Ali went up to him and started washing his feet, he said, no, please no. First embrace poverty, then come to me. Poor Gandhi, what did he say? He said the English educated people with bow ties, studied in Oxford and Cambridge, members of the All India Economic Conference, 1919, Allahabad. Gandhi said, I want to speak. This Tharthar Matoo, what has he got to do with economics? And all our Marshall and Marx and words. So, they say, acha aao. He got to speak. The same 2.5 minute speech that the Prophet delivered and changed the whole world. 2.5 minutes. In Mecca, when he conquered Mecca and forgave everybody. They forget this. Muslims forget that people had oppressed him and persecuted him, and how Khadija had died in the barren land, this rich woman. When he became the conqueror of Arabia, he said, open your windows, I forgive you all. So what is the 2.5 minutes? He got up, he said, gentlemen, I have an economic principle, and if you follow it, all the ills of the world and of India, poverty, hunger and disease will be solved. And it is not my principle. It was enunciated by Lord Christ, Hazrat Isa, 2000 years ago. You must not angry, you must not angry, you must not angry. Taki singit gasat. Singit gasat. Kya? Bible. Sell all that you have and give it to the poor and follow me. And he sat down. 2.5 minutes. But he didn't tell them that he had taken it from the earliest book of the Hindus. But to them, he quoted the Bible. That is why T.N. Madan from this place and our distinguished Vice Chancellor welcomed the idea that what Muslims need today is an essay in comparative religion. To open their mind, to place Islam in its right setting as a great revolutionary movement. And do you know what that early thing is? I was considered to be the greatest Hindu in Jammu because I'm a cheat. You know what is a cheat? A cheat is one who can cheat. I'm cheating you right now, leading you somewhere else from wherever you are. So what happened was I was commissioner and appoint principals. So I also appointed a principal for which I suffered. They didn't make me a vice chancellor because Amitab Matoo knows that. But look what happened. A Shastri came. What was I to ask him? Shastri, Sanskrit fellow. And commerce scholar the principal. So I said to him, can you quote to me the first verse of the Ishopanishad? So he quoted. Can explain to me? I said, your translation is wrong. He said, sir, wrong? I said, yes. He said, why? Manikati, the first shloka of the Ishopanishad is renounce and enjoy. Enjoy. You say renounce, you've forgotten. You can't, if you renounce without enjoying it. Look at the psychology. Renounce and enjoy. Do not covet the wealth of another. So when Gandhiji went to Banaras, so all the pandas there, you know pandas? With a frontal convexity. All the laddus and pedas that people eat, and all the ristas that which befog the mind of our religious heads, frontal convexity. But Gandhiji said, तुम पढ़ो मैं तो ईश्वरपनिषद के पहले श्लोक में फंस गया हूं तुम लोग बड़े विद्वान हो तो मैंने किताब कैसे तुम बज बजे तुम पढ़ो. And that one verse was this one, renounce and enjoy. And how did he say it before his death? To Patel. He said to Patel, everything that I have said and written must be cremated with my body. What I have done will endure, not what I have said and written. I have said again and again that if all the scriptures of Hinduism were to perish, a single verse of the Upanishads would suffice to declare the essence of Hinduism. But I have also maintained that even that one verse will be of no help if there is no one to live it. If there is no one to live it. It's a question of living Islam, breathing Islam, then people respect us. That's how Islam spread. And it is my duty to convey to you that the challenge to education is basically today of developing that large-hearted tolerance. Unless there are other religions in Kashmir, I cannot become a good Muslim. The actual test of being a good Muslim is that I should be able to tell a Hindu and a Sikh what is Islam. I don't have to convince Bush, because Bush we have beaten hollow. Bush we have beaten hollow. We may have no guns, but the Muslims have destroyed the American empire just because their heart is in the right place. They don't have a brain, but that doesn't matter. When the heart speaks, it erupts and it gives birth to what? As America has created the empire, the world has created the multitude. Read some good books. Read Antonio Negre book, Empire and Multitude. And the multitude has arisen all over the world. You don't know, then it will erupt. And you suddenly find lakhs of people on the streets. In New York, in Seattle, in Rome, in Brazil, look at the spontaneous eruption which hits the very equilibrium of empire. And if you have to have the faith of your religion, of all religion, then you will develop the courage to talk, to dialogue, to converse, to think, to read and confound your opponents. All teachers must begin to read. Nobody reads controversial things. Nobody reads the latest material produced in America against Bush. The finest two books that appeared this year, in the last 2 years, are There is No God But God by Riyaz Ashraf Ali. All Muslims think they know everything, when I claim they know nothing. This is my belief after having read 200 books. Riyaz Ashraf Ali's book, There is No God, Allama Iqbal Sahib gave it to me to read. The finest book on Islam, small book. There is No God But God, Riyaz Ashraf Ali. He for 10 years was in Harvard studying comparative religion. And the book he has written on Islam is the finest book on Islam. Two, a book that has been produced, I have spoken about it in Jammu, Eastern Origins of Western Civilization. Nothing originated in the West. It all began in India and China. And Islam was the bridge that carried all this to Europe and taught them in Spain and 100 universities. That was the Muslim role. Today, you shut your doors and your minds against all that Muslims have produced, in all the knowledge they have produced. And they are unearthing it for us, and they are telling us what has been the role of Islam in civilizing mankind. And if I must end, I must end another accident. But what a beautiful accident. The triumph of Indian democracy. A World Parliament of Religions, 1928, Mysore. Radhakrishnan, professor of philosophy in Banaras, speaks on the Indian situation from the Hindu point of view. On Tuesday, Dr. Zakir Hussain speaks on the Indian situation from the Muslim point of view. And this is what Dr. Zakir Hussain said, 1928, and consider what we have been doing for all these years. If Muslims think that Islam shall go by bringing women out of the four walls of an unhygienic house, that Islam shall go. If Muslims think that Islam shall go by removing a tyrant from the head of an autocratic state, that Islam shall go, etc., etc. And those who hope to save that Islam shall hope in vain. But if Islam is the religion that 1300 years ago made civilized men out of barbarians, believers out of unbelievers, that gave to woman a place and a status in society which she had none before, a religion which recognizes only an aristocracy of character amidst the brotherhood of man, that Islam shall continue to live and enrich mankind. Thank you.